Today's prayer. Light shines on the righteous and joy on the upright in heart. Psalms 97 and 11. Hello, everyone. This is Patricia with Patricia's Crafting Corner. And today we are going to try to make this little square purse. The purse comes with the mold. There's only one mold to the kit, a chain, and the little purse bracket. So, my intentions is to do something a little wacky on my part because it's something I haven't attempted to do in quite a while. That is to use some of my metallic pigment powder that I purchased on Amazon. And when I opened it up, I fell in love. Look at these colors. They are so beautiful. I mean, there's gold, amber, lapis, copper, and silver. Now, my intention is to use the copper today. And I'm going to take this, and I'm only going to use it in one area of the mold. I've got something on it already. I did have to spray the mold with mold release because it is a very tight fit. And I'm going to see if I can use a little bit of tape to get this black piece out that I know I did it because it wasn't there when I got started. See if I can get it. Yeah, I hope that didn't mess up anything as far as the spray. But now, I don't know now that I have sprayed it. If because my intentions was to just go around the sides and lightly color it in. So now I'm going to have to do something a little bit different, I guess. I'm going to open it up. And when you look at this, oh, it comes out on a brush. Then you brush it in. Now I'm going to try this, and I hope and pray, and look at me, getting it all on, that it would work if I just did this, brushed it in, and see how that works. And then even with the, because it's going to be on the theme of a steampunk, and it may not even make a difference how it's actually on it. But then again, it may because it's taken away from my design, how I wanted it to be. So I'm going to have to try to clean that up some kind of way. But that's how I want this to be on the sides. And I'm going to try to do it more carefully. And just hit those corners. So I'm going to take a quick break, do this, and come back, okay? And we'll see. Oh, I have made a mess already. How it turns out. See you soon. Okay, everyone, I'm back. I've mixed up 5 ounces of Purdue epoxy resin, and I separated just a little bit into a cup, and I've got my little brass and copper and silver little gears here. And what I'd like to do is just place them. Well, let me do first is add a little bit of resin to cover it. I'm going to go around the sides. Now this mold is a lot deeper than that heart and the little cat mold. And that's why I added the 5 ounces. Now I'm just going to add enough to cover the bottom. Well, this is actually the top because when this is demolded, this is the part you're going to see. Okay. Just want to make sure I got it all the way around. Don't want to fill it. Not yet. Gonna give it a squeeze. Make sure it's down in there. And then take my gears and place them just randomly. This is just something quirky, something to give it a little definition of its own. I always soak whatever I am going to place into my molds in my resin first to help deter air bubbles. And this one is stuck together here. And I'm going to have to work that apart some kind of way. But yeah, just want to make it fun. The little purses could be for little girls. Wow, I'm finding all kind of stuff in here. Your keys, your ID. Anytime you don't want to carry a large purse, you can carry one of these little ones. And I'm glad that the powder kind of gives it a little bit of edge to it. Now, I'm not trying to be so strategic, but I don't want them stuck together either. Now this one is I'm making for a very dear friend, and she has been very, very close, and she is family because we're related, not through blood, but by the bond of a child. And she has always, always thought of my husband and all of us. And we try to keep our family together. We're not perfect people, but we like to at least be as close in family as we can, because you never know. You just never know who you're going to need, or who will be the one that's there for you when you don't have anyone else. She lost her mom a few years back, and since then I've always had this very extreme love for her, even more so because I knew her mom personally. It was like we didn't, what you would say, hang out, but we as adults tried to keep, things together. Now I'm just adding these few in there. I didn't know if I would need them all, so I didn't coat them all. And I think these little few pieces won't hurt it at all. Slide one up there. Being very careful to try not to scratch the mold because they are metal. Okay, one last piece. Now, I'll let that sit for just a few minutes, and then I'll finish adding. Now, what I was going to do was color the resin with a little coffee alcohol ink, but I don't think I need that. That copper powder And with these little gears, it gives it such a nice life of its own. I may be mumbling right now or muttering and you can't really understand what I'm saying. I do have my mask on. I always try to wear my PPE. There are some times that I do forget, but you know, um, this stuff is a poison and we need to really be careful with it because when we breathe it in for so long, it can cause health problems. So I have my ceiling fan on, my window open, and my air purifier going as I am working. And I even have that on when I'm doing the plaster, the eco powders, because you can never be too safe. Oh, that's going to be beautiful. And I'm going to stop right there because I think I've got enough in there. So um, I do. I don't know if that's a hair or if that's just a break in the copper around the sides. But I'm thinking that's going to do it. So now I'm going to have to find something to use the rest of this resin with because I certainly don't want to um, waste it. That's too much to waste. So what I will do is find something real quick, and that's not going to take a lot. Now I have molds all over the place, but when you want one, you never can find it. Okay, what I have is this little figure, the bust part of a, oh, well, it's a mold. I'm just going to call it a bust. I'm going to spray it with some alcohol. Make sure I get some down inside the top of that. I will put my colorant in. And the color I've chosen is coffee, and it is by Sigwan. It's never been open. Isn't that something? You know what? It gets me every time. There's nothing, absolutely nothing. Let's see if I can open it with this little. Definitely don't want to stab myself. So what I'm using is the tip of a very small, oh, I know what I can use. If I can find it, excuse me. Never a dull moment. Never, never, ever a dull moment. Okay, I'm going to take a real brief pause for 1, 2, 3 seconds here. Okay, now I've added 10 drops. I want to color it and give it a nice color and stir this in good. I don't want this to start curing on me. I'm not going to stir it too fast where I create a ton of bubbles though. Don't want that. What do you think of that color? It's beautiful. I love it. Okay. I want to work it in real good at the bottom. spray with a little alcohol. And continue to fill. Well, will you look at that? It's just enough, just a little bit. That's perfect. Now, I do have just a teeny bit left over, and I have the perfect mold for that. Don't see many brown flowers unless they're dying or wilting, whatever. Okay. But I have this little teeny flower here. I'll spray that with a little alcohol because it does have intricate pieces in there, parts, I should say, a design. Now, I heard some time ago, years ago, that if you pour from a higher angle, you diminish the chance of getting air bubbles. So while it's not as high up as it could be, it's high enough, I believe, off of the table. Now move that right here. Give it a little spritz. I do turn mine over on the table because I don't want to saturate it with alcohol. I just want to make sure that it's covered. Oh, that's neat. That's neat. Okay. This one has just a little bit of overage, but it can be picked off. Let's see. Okay. That's better. This one too. Okay. So that's that with that. And the little bit that I do have left, I do have some little molds around here. I think I can add it to. So I'll see you when everything's cured, and then we'll go on to making our part. Now, it's going to be a while because I need to have two of the large molds here, the larger ones, to be able to make the purse. So I'll come back after both are molded, cured, and we can go into decorating our purse. Not decorating it, putting it together. I'm kind of crazy right now because I'm trying to get rid of this resin. I don't want to waste it. And what I'm doing is just filling in things that I started partially. Okay, see you when it's done.